Hello everyone, this is the Crimson Cure, welcoming you to the Crimson Tower, a place where we keep a feminine foot on the neck of the gynocracy, feminism, and black male misandry. So go ahead, pull up a chair, stay a while, and listen.
If you wanna be on top, you better bring out Ain't nobody stop me cause I'm always on my If you wanna be the bitches, go and get it, go let's talk so you won't have no problems at all.
Hello, my Crimsonites. How we doing? Are we doing all right? Are we doing okay? Hey, Soul Shader. Hey, Angela. Hey, Acquired Taste. We are going to continue the conversation from yesterday, sort of. Because I think towards the end we were getting warmed up, but I kind of want to talk about something that kind of ties into it. Been trying to get, y'all know I got to give y'all like a meaningless report on personal stuff, but whatever. I've been trying to break this stall that I got on keto. This weight plateau. Like I hit a plateau for the last almost month. Think I've only lost like a pound or two, and that's not gonna cut it. Even with exercise and all of that. I don't think I was doing my intermittent fasting properly, you know. So I'm going to get tighter on my fasting windows. That 4-hour window to only eat inside of that window and not nibble outside of that window. Nibbling on little pieces of cheese and, you know, just inconsequential stuff, but it adds up. I think it has like a cumulative effect. Hey, Evo Sosa. I think it has like a cumulative effect on not losing the weight necessarily. Because I've been bouncing back and forth between them same like 3 pounds and the little pieces of cheese because I love cheese. I love cheese. But I think that love of cheese is working against me because it's burning off the dietary fat. Cheese is high in fat. Because I don't eat like low fat cheese or anything like that. But if I'm trying to burn fat, then I can't give my body too much dietary fat. And I think that it's been creeping in because I buy those little baby bales and I can wipe out about 4 or 5 of them just because they're almost bite size. So, you know, you take 1 or 2 bites and they're gone. And since I love cheese, I don't mind because I'll get different kinds. They got Gouda, white cheddar, you know what I'm saying? So I'll buy those little baggies and I'll just sit with a big thing of water and some cheese. Like I'll just sit there and eat cheese. But I think that I'm underestimating how much I'm eating of that and consuming too much dietary fat. So I don't think that I'm eating the wrong thing. I think I'm eating too much of one thing. So that's what I'm tweaking right now. And the way that I'm going to tweak that is to actually eat within my window and not eat nibbling on those little baby bell cheeses outside of that window. I'm just going to eat 1. Oh, I'm just going to eat 2, you know, that type of thing. and eating too much dietary fat. So when I'm burning fat, I'm burning that fat, not mine that's stored in my body. And that's why I'm bouncing back and forth between them couple of two, 3 little pounds. I keep losing that same like 3 pounds or whatever. So I think that's the issue with my plateau, because I can't think of nothing else that I'm eating bad. And the cheese is not bad. It's just that I think I'm kind of eating it throughout the day. And I'm not paying attention because, oh, it's this cheese that doesn't have any carbs. No, it doesn't. But it does have fat. So now I'm at a point now where I can't consume too much dietary fat because I'll just burn that. So that's my little report. Evo Sosa says, what's your weight goal? My current weight goal is 140 pounds. And then I'll see what I do from there. Because I carry weight well to only be 5'5". You would think the weight that I'm at now, I would be roly-poly, but I'm not. So I carry a lot of weight, but somehow it gets distributed well. So while 140 pounds sounds too heavy for 5'5", it won't be. Because I was like that at my healthiest point, probably at 18 or 19 years old. That's like my high school, college weight, about 140, 145. And I was muscular at that point. I was athletic. I was always walking and biking and swimming, and I was always doing that stuff. So I was like muscular. So what's going on, Fit Feminine? Hey, Father's Time. Hey, Tiger Divine. So that's all camera. Yeah, I actually carry weight rather well. Because I got a lot of muscle mass. Like, I got fat to lose, but I'm really dense. Like, I'm heavy. And I've always been that way. So anyway, enough about that. We are going to continue the conversation in a way from yesterday when we talked about family and boundaries. And this time I named it When Facing Your Mother Goes Wrong. Shout out to Sheep Stay Sleep and some other content creators who covered this story. I'm going to read you the quick article about the man in Harlem who committed matricide. I'm going to just read. The article is really short. Says this, Musa Kamara, 22, allegedly shot his mother, Fatoumata Danson, in the head inside their apartment at the Lehman Village houses in East Harlem. New York City police confirmed that the man was arrested just a half a block away from the crime scene and was still in possession of the murder weapon. Danson, 39, was the mother of 7 other children, so she was a little bit younger than me with 8 children. Members of her family, which hail from Gambia and the Sierra Leone, immigrants to the United States in the 90s, were observed grieving outside their building. According to her distraught brother, Yakub Basangari, Danson was a kind woman who always smiled and laughed. Basangari is calling for his nephew to, quote, rot in jail for the rest of his life for the crime of killing his own mother. He said the shooting was because Kamara is, quote, a lazy bastard, and my sister told him to get a job, threw him out of the house, and that was his reaction. Kamara was seen in a local hospital for a psychiatric evaluation after his arrest. He was charged with murder Wednesday, according to authorities. Matricide is a rare crime in the U.S. Less than 2% of all homicides are the murder of a mother by her biological child. However, the data does note that most matricides are committed by the adult son which is an interesting point. Despite an ongoing pandemic, violent crime in New York City surged in 2020, where more than 447 people were the victims of homicide. That was a 40% increase over the previous year. I can't imagine a darker period, said Police Commissioner Dermot Shea in a year-end department briefing with reporters. The increase should alarm already anxious Americans, some contend. It is clearly related in part to the C-19 and to the fact that people are cooped up, Mayor Bill de Blasio said. And it's certainly related to the fact that the criminal justice system is on pause, and that's causing a lot of problems. So with that being read, that's what caused me to say when facing your mother goes wrong. Now, the accusation that the reason why he killed her was because she asked him to get a job sounds a little too simplistic for me. Okay? The young man was only 22. This is not 2019. This is 2021, and we're not even post C-19. We're in C-19. Considering that the job market and the economic landscape dramatically changed last year due to that, the accusation or the pressure for a 22-year-old black man to get a job, and because he doesn't have that, accuse him of being lazy in this environment, I think is too simplistic and a little bit unrealistic, because there are not a whole lot of places that are actually hiring right now. Many businesses are just staying afloat. Unless you're UPS, Amazon, or some logistics business, trucking, fast food restaurants, the big chains, McDonald's, Burger King, that kind of thing. Supermarkets, things of that nature, those businesses are not really suffering. However, other businesses have either folded or they're hanging on by a thread, and they are not really hiring anyone at this time. Amazon, I think, is still hiring, but that would depend on where you are, how flooded their application thing is, the queue for that. And all of that. So asking a 22-year-old who would probably be struggling even in a better economy to stand on their own at this time is a little bit unrealistic, because there are people right now who have been holding down a job for many years who are now out of a job and being maybe put out of their homes or in other ways financially struggling right now due to the pandemic and C-19 and all of those things. So that type of pressure being put, who knows how long, and who knows the frame of that, because we've even got the brother calling him names, calling him lazy, this and that. So has this young man been verbally abused? Has he been browbeaten, emasculated, said that he's not a man and this and that? That's likely. That's highly likely that that was the case. Remember the video that I did a while back, ousting the male from the hyena clan, and that woman who was a quote unquote birth giver to that young man and was cussing him out and kicking him out of the house and all of that kind of stuff. See, these are the types of things that young black men go through in their households. Okay? These are the types of things that they go through in their households. They are assumed that as soon as he hits 18, 19, maybe even before in some cases, that he's supposed to automatically hit a switch and become this self-sufficient man that's got everything laid out, that's got everything planned out. And what's not being paid attention to is that the younger generation now, like the generation that Soul Shader belongs to, what do y'all call y'all generation? What are y'all? Z's? The younger generation, they are leaving the nest later than Gen X did. They are leaving the nest later, even under better conditions than what we're seeing the economy now. They were still leaving the nest later. Okay? So they don't have a good grasp on self-sufficiency yet. Some of them are students. And I'm talking about in a non-C19 environment. Some of them will still be students just now getting out of college, or some of them just now getting into it, trying to figure out what they want to do, you know, how they want to do it, especially the boys, especially the young men. Many of them don't have good male leadership or father figures from which to learn and get guidance on what he's supposed to do with his life and which direction that he would like to go in his life. Okay, many are being raised by their mothers and they don't have a good sense of direction. They don't have a good sense of structure, and they kind of are aimless in their 20s. Okay, and some of them don't start kind of getting things together until the latter part of their 20s, 25 and up. Okay, so then they start maybe kind of focusing a little bit more and saying, okay, this is what I think I'm good at, or this is what I want to do, or this is what, you know what I'm saying, is available to me to do. Let me try to do that. But on the back end, they're getting a lot of pressure, usually from their mothers who didn't give them a structure, probably didn't give them their father, and are then pressuring them to snap their fingers and become men. My question, if she's a mother of 8, where was the husband? Who is that young man's father? Because they never mention her husband. And this is a non-ADOS woman. This is a woman of African descent. So where was her husband? Where was the father of that young man? And why was he not mentioned? Is he not in the picture, not mentioned? Is he passed away? Or was she giving him, did she chase him off? Or what was I would be interested to know what's the dynamic with the father, because he was not mentioned one way or another. So it's interesting because I don't like to assume that the father abandoned the family, because there could be any number of reasons why the father is not mentioned. Maybe he just wasn't mentioned, which I would find that difficult to believe. Okay. Because it seemed like she was in like a housing project or something like that. With 8 kids, you know, she was getting all kinds of state benefits and all of that type of thing. So where was the family structure of the father to guide this young man and to perhaps mitigate what friction was going on between the mother and the son, considering that is technically an adult? And this is why this ties into family and boundaries, because what was the family dynamic there? the family value was obviously in some way broken down. There was a breakdown in the family value, in that dynamic between himself and his mother. And no boundaries, because she was probably hammering, going in and standing on his head because he was still there with her, and not respecting the fact that is actually an adult now. So you probably need to talk to him differently. You need to interact with him differently, even though he's still in your house. There is a certain level of respect that actually still needs to be given. It's a lot of black mothers, whether they are ADOS or not, that decide that their grown children need to be disrespected if for some reason they need to live with them, even if they had left the nest and had to come back. That means that their children can be demeaned, degraded, and cursed out and talked to like garbage because they are technically adults and still needing assistance from the mother or the parent or whatever. Okay, and they do this not only to the sons, but they also do it to the daughters as well. Video footage, I've seen plenty of Facebook videos and stuff where this one woman's cursing out her daughter. She's like 21, 22 with a kid and lives with her, and she talk crazy to her. You know what I'm saying? And all that. And then she actually says, I don't have to respect you because you're in my house. Okay. So they use any type of excuse in order to disrespect their children, their adult children. So there was no proper boundary set between that son and that mother, not to mention that because of C-19 and because of the restrictions, it's probably cooped up with her too long, which agitated whatever was going on between them to reach this critical level, because that is an extreme reaction. And I doubt very highly that it was off the back of one civil conversation that she was having with him about work and responsibility. I doubt highly that there was a single conversation where it was civil and he just spazzed out and shot her. I do not believe that at all. We have grown up with our mothers. We know how they talk. We know how they think. We know how they interact. We know that they become abusive when they talk to their children. They talk down to them. And they talk to them with a lot of disrespect. And believing that they don't have to respect their children simply because they birthed them into the world. So no matter how old their children get, they don't have to have any respect. And this is why yesterday I was talking about setting boundaries. Because as an adult, especially as an adult that is not dependent on them for anything, you're not living with them, you're not getting anything from them to sustain your needs, hard boundaries need to be set. Because we have so many mothers that do this sort of thing. I'm pretty sure she was always browbeating him. I'm pretty sure she was always calling him some type of name, or demeaning him and degrading him in some type of way. And he finally snapped. She did it one too many times. Who knows if he had already been suffering from some type of depression or some type of mental issue or something that may have gotten agitated because of the pandemic, because of what's going on. You know what I'm saying? And those things become heightened due to the situation, not being able to leave that situation or whatever. You know what I'm saying? In enough time to maybe cool down and just kind of, work himself back down. She's probably using him as a babysitter. She has 8 kids and with no mention of a father. She's using him as a babysitter, probably saddling him with a lot of responsibilities that do not belong to him. Because we also know that the husband/son paradigm and dynamic is also very real. So since he's a 22-year-old, she probably was trying to get on him to get a job to help her and to help her take care of children that she chose to have. Those are not his children. Those are his siblings. Okay? So just understanding how a lot of these mothers work and think, I can imagine the scenario that probably exacerbated some underlying issues that was there for him. And that's when he went off. Like, you know what? Because where does he get a gun? Where does he get this gun? Is this a gun that's just in the house? I doubt it. Where does he get this weapon? He procured this weapon somehow. And for what reason? Was this a gun that, like I said, that's just in the house? Usually not, because we know that a lot of black mothers don't like guns, especially guns in the house. They don't like them. They don't know how to shoot them. They don't know how to work them. They don't want them around. So I doubt highly that if there was no other adult male in that house, there's likely not a gun in that house. So he procured that gun from somewhere. So you got to start thinking about the surrounding circumstances. He procured that gun for whatever reason. I'm not saying he got it to do something to her, but I'm saying he got it. He had it. It was in his possession. Something happened. They probably got into a heated argument. He got tired. Last straw. You know that phrase, the straw that broke the camel's back? And he's like, I'm done. I'm done with it. I'm done. You won't call me another name, and I'm going to make sure of it. The only problem with his reaction to that, aside from how extreme that is that his siblings don't have a parent now. But that is an extreme reaction to whatever was going on in that household. You don't get more extreme than offing somebody. Doesn't get more extreme than that. And you can tell it was in a fit of anger and confusion. He shot her and then he ran with the gun in his hand. So this was not a premeditated situation. I don't think that he thought about it. I think he got fed up. I think he snapped off. I think he did it and then was like, oh my God, I did that. I did that. Like, she gone. Took off. For them to catch him about a half a block or block or so down the street with the gun in his hand. They say he had randomly shot at somebody or whatever, just spazzing out. When he got arrested, there was another article saying when he got arrested, he started just taking off his clothes, just spazzing out, which is what caused them to send him to the hospital to get him a psych eval. He's probably in shock and grief. Because again, I don't think that this young man was a monster. So he's having to process that his mother is dead. He's the one that offed her. So there's likely guilt, grief, anger, depression, whatever else he was underlying going through. They probably, if they were smart, they probably put him on suicide watch. Because I can't imagine that he's handling that very well. Having to come to grips with the reality of what he did. Now that that heated moment is over and kind of snapping out of it and like, oh, whoa. Because like I said, there's something about this. I don't think that this young man was just some type of monster. But it's a lot being cooped up in an apartment with 9 other people. And then being expected to carry some weight that you're unprepared to carry, and that's not your weight to carry in the first place. That's a lot. It's a lot. It's enough to make somebody crack under that pressure. And once somebody cracks, you don't know how they're gonna crack. You don't know what they're going to do. Thank you, Ronan, for the Cash App. Hit the Cash App. Hit the Super Chats. What's going on? And hit the like button. I got 53 people, 28 likes. So y'all just not gonna show your girl love? We sitting here talking about a serious issue that affects our communities? And you just gonna absorb it? I mean, I don't mind you absorbing it, but... And I usually don't stop my show to ask because I don't think that it should be necessary. But when I go for 35 minutes and no one contributes and I'm not getting likes, so I'm not going to get no contribution of any type. Thank you, Isaac, says showing some love. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So in any case, you don't know how somebody's gonna snap. When they snap, you don't know what they're gonna snap off and do. We don't know what the spiritual value of that family was. Now, they're from a country that they may or may not have been Muslim, or at least had Islamic background if they weren't Muslim. So what was the spiritual value of this family? Because there was severe breakdown in the family value. For it to end up this way, where those other siblings no longer have a mother to care for them, and neither does he. So the spiritual value suffered. Mental health, the health value also suffered, because what was the state of his mental and emotional health leading up to those moments? And what had it been, and for how long? Mental illness is the elephant in the room for the Black community that no one likes to talk about. Thank you so much, R&B and hip hop vibes. Thank you. Mental illness in the Black community is the pink elephant in the room that no one wants to discuss. And when it is discussed, it's usually only in the framework of how women are suffering from mental and emotional health issues. But what about what the men suffer from? We just had a tragedy in this space of Force Windu. May Allah console his family. What had he been wrestling with? For how long? Did C-19 exacerbate those issues? We don't know. But mental health issues isn't just something that affects the women in our group. It affects the men in our group, and it affects the children in our group as well. So the spiritual value had to have been lacking. The health value was not being looked after, because who looked after his mental health? Who looked after possibly the mental health of his mom? Had to be tremendous pressure in that household. Then leading to the family value, that breakdown. Probably being put in a position of being the husband's son, which is a position no young man should ever be put in. Can't really comment at this time on the appearance value, but the dwelling value, what was the energy? What were the financial situation had to be stressed, because she's moaning and you know, arguing with him and chiding him about work. And it's C19. So we can imagine that they were probably struggling for other things. Even if she has Section 8, there's more that you pay in life than rent. She's probably getting food stamps for 9 kids. And see, by him being 22, she wasn't getting no stamps for him. They cut it off when your child is 18. So she wasn't getting any food stamps. She was getting food stamps. She wasn't getting none for him anymore. That makes her argue at him, because his existence in her household is no longer benefiting her by proxy. Hey, Reggie. Hey, Bronze. Hey, Dr. Michelle. No longer being benefited. So this makes her argue more. This makes her treat him with disdain. Treat him with resentment. Why don't you get up and get a job? Why don't you work? You don't want to work. You are lazy. You don't want to work. Get frustrated with him, and he's getting more and more frustrated with her. And then we already discussed yesterday the God complex concerning the mother in the black community. This is in American black culture, and also a lot of African cultures have that same thing with your parents and your mom. You can't say anything. So he's probably feeling the pressure, not only from her, but you saw what his uncle was saying. So the whole family's probably coming down on him. I doubt the pressure was just coming from one source. She was just there when he snapped off. He was just mad that she told him he was lazy, and this was his reaction. That's what the uncle says. So we can tell by the uncle that he was just going along with whatever his sister said was going on with her son. Probably didn't even try to get the young man's side, or get an understanding from him, or sympathize or empathize with him and tell the mom, hey, lay off, you know, I'll give him a job in my business or something. Get him out the house, give him something to do. So no boundaries were set, which leads me to strongly believe that there was no father or father figure in that household to create the balance and the structure, and to moderate those dynamics. So we get a situation where there are no healthy boundaries being set. I'm your mother, you're in my household, so that means I get to disrespect you and talk to you as less than a human being. I get to emasculate you. I get to, I just get to talk down at you. Break your spirit. Break your sense of self-worth. Thank you, Ebo, for the cash app. So these are the things that young man was likely going through. But we don't talk about it. We don't discuss it in any meaningful way where people can get help. There really aren't any outlets for men that are suffering with mental issues or emotional issues where he can go and talk to somebody without the stigma attached to him of being crazy or, more importantly, of being weak. You can't alpha your way through a mental issue. You can't alpha your way through major depression with suicidal thoughts or homicidal thoughts. You need somebody to talk to that's not going to judge you because you're having some issues that you need to work through. We got a bad stigma in the black community that if you've got mental, and we go through so much trauma, we go through way too much trauma to have that type of stigma on mental issues and seeking help for mental and emotional trauma and issues. We go through way too much trauma, traumatic experiences in our lives on a day-to-day basis. We go through way too much to be looking at people with a side eye because they need to seek therapy. That's the number one thing that I would encourage just about any black person, male or female, to do. To go and get some sort of counseling, likely for childhood traumas. To help that young man or young woman to adjust and get some positive ways to cope. Because too often we find ourselves just having to figure it out. Figure your way through your trauma by yourself. I had to figure mine out by myself. This is why I turned to spirituality and turned to Allah. This is why I turned to it. Because I was going to go crazy. I wouldn't even be here, y'all. I would not be here. I would have off myself. I would have tried again. Just no, forget it. Just no, I'm gone. Can't do it. Can't do it. Checking out. Checking out. Sayonara. Can't do it. Not gonna do it. So I leaned on spirituality to help me to deal, to help me think and process what happened to me and why did these things happen? And what can I now do since I'm saddled with the trauma of it all? What can I now do to try to mitigate those negative effects and not go through my life as a hurt person that hurts other people and that hurts themselves constantly? I had to make some sort of sense of it. And by the grace of Allah, I was able to. A lot of self-healing went on. It wasn't perfect, but I didn't turn to drugs. I didn't turn to promiscuity. I didn't turn to alcohol. I didn't turn to self-harm. I didn't turn to, harming other people or any of that. Like, I internalized a lot of it. I was very unkind to myself. That's what I did. I turned all the knives inside. I refused to hurt other people, but I didn't have a problem hurting me. My logic for that was somebody gonna get hurt, either me or them, and I don't want the people that I care about and stuff, like, I don't want to hurt them. So I'll just turn the weapons inward. Because the weapons are going to get fired off either way. Until I can fix it, somebody gonna get shot. Somebody's about to be hurt. But that wasn't healthy either. To turn the weapons inward and to be cruel to myself because I felt the need to lash out, so I lashed out at me. That was also unhealthy. I don't recommend anybody do that. And I had to recognize that's unhealthy. To this day, I consciously try to watch my language when I speak about me and speak about experiences and things of that nature, not to be unnecessarily cruel about it. And be self-deprecating and be negative and all of that. So definitely had to figure that out. Thank you, MLR, for the Cash App. Had to figure it out. It took trying to hold a mirror up for myself, but like anybody, you have blind spots when it comes to insight for yourself. There are blind spots. Some things you don't think is no problem. Other people are having a different experience. So it actually helps to have other people around you that are able to hold that mirror up truthfully to you and say, no. There's another flaw. You can't see it, but it's right there. And it takes emotional maturity to be able to not lash out at the person for saying it, but to have introspection to see, you know what, that is a problem. Let me go ahead and see if I can get that together. And by the grace of Allah, I have people in my life that are willing to hold that mirror up to me. And they're not trying to gaslight. They're not trying to just tell me stuff they think I want to hear and all of that. They're very honest with it. I'm like, nope, no. That right there, that's problematic too. Really? That's problematic? Girl, that's been problematic. That's been problematic for a minute. You don't know that? No, I thought, yeah. Well, you passed that point. You need to fix it. You see? So I just wanted to go over that again with you guys and have that conversation. About boundaries. These are some of the things that can happen when there are no boundaries, or when the boundaries are bad. Okay. All right. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and check on out of here. But before I go, this show has been sponsored by A-Game, a male herbal solution. So what I need you guys to do right after this video clicks off, or even before, go into the description box and click the link for A-Game at agameherbal.com. Go ahead and get a 10% discount off of your next purchase using the code Kendra10. All right, so guys, you will thank yourself and wonder why you haven't done that sooner. And for the ladies, your men will thank you and wonder why you didn't do this sooner. All right. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and check on out of here. Until the next one, peace out, Crimsonites. Hey guys, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. And if you've got more to say on the topic, leave a comment down below. Also, don't forget to support our sponsor, who so graciously supports this channel by clicking the description box and the link for A-Game at agameherbal.com. You can go ahead and get a 10% discount off of your next purchase using the code Kendra10. This has been yet another Crimson Cure production, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.